Hi, welcome to the channel. So today I'm back with another major Arya video. I'm sure I'm going to mispronounce this, but this is the Chanakya Dialogues English. U.S. has always been sanctimonious about protests in India. Today, the U.S. is at the receiving end. So of course, this video is going to be all about the protests happening right now at American universities. Let's get to it.
Whether it's Columbia University or any other university in the U.S., where these pro-Palestinian protests are happening, what you're faced with is called the watermelon coalition. America has got an absolutely bad name across the world because of the way you've handled the situation. And let me tell you, your future generation has been poisoned. Because once they have created enough chaos, and once the Islamists take over, the first people they get rid of are the leftists. Jen friends, I'm Major Gaurav Arya and you're watching the Chanakya Dialogues English. Like this video, subscribe to our channel and don't forget to press the bell icon. al-arian is a Palestinian terrorist who was convicted in the United States. He was a professor, he was teaching, and then he started helping terrorists. His linkages were found, and then he was at a federal level, he was charged, found guilty. His wife was seen going around Columbia University, and this terrorist boasted about it. He said that, my wife is there and she's very much there, she's present there. I just want to tell the Americans that, it's fine that you've been pointing fingers at India. That's okay. We are not bothered about it. You can point again. But do you realize what the problem is? I will tell you something about 9/11, and not many Americans know about this. And I've taken up this topic in English so you understand, and there is no threat of dilution during translation, if you know what I mean. So I'm going to speak in English and explain to my American friends. When 9/11 happened, of course, all of us were heartbroken and we said, what is this? Many of us had friends and relatives in America and everybody was afraid, and 3,000 lives lost. It was a huge shock. Whether we were impacted by it or not, that did not matter. It was a huge shock. But among some Indians, there was also this feeling that we hoped that out of this, America would understand what it means to be attacked inside your homes by terrorists, what it means to have violence inflicted upon you by state actors or non-state actors who come and kill your citizens inside. Now, America has not seen this kind of an attack since Pearl Harbor.
So in terms of scale, this is absolutely correct. The last time the U.S. was attacked like this was Pearl Harbor. However, before 9/11, the largest terror attack the U.S. has ever faced was by an American terrorist, Timothy McVeigh, and he was aided by, I think his name was Terry Nichols. They were responsible for the Oklahoma City bombing that killed about 300 or 400 people, including a daycare full of children.
Pearl Harbor was during the Second World War, and that was formally done by the Japanese, right? This was done by Al-Qaeda, 9/11. But so many people killed, 3,000 people killed, perhaps the biggest attack on American soil, and many Indians were hoping, while they were praying for the survivors and they were praying for the victims also, many Indians said that we hope today that America will learn its lesson, America will understand. And why did the Indians say that we hope America will understand? Because before that, whenever India was attacked, America always said, no, this is an internal problem in India and some difference of opinion with Pakistan. They were very wishy-washy about terrorism. India kept on telling the US that here is a problem. And this is going to become a bigger problem for all of us. It's a global issue. Please, be very serious. But since America was not impacted, Americans were not getting killed, America was extremely non-serious about this entire terrorism thing before 9/11. When 9/11 hit, suddenly Americans realized that something is very seriously wrong. And then a new word, a new phrase, or a new identity, I should say, entered the American vocabulary. And that word was Al-Qaeda. Americans do not understand the East. Europeans, to some extent. Maybe because they've had a colonial past, a lot of European powers have had a colonial past. So maybe, but even that is dying down. You don't understand the East. you don't understand where this is coming from. Now, I'd like to tell you something. Like when India had, the farmer protests, the Americans were extremely sanctimonious. Americans were saying, no, the farmers have every right to. Nobody said that the farmers do not have a right to protest. Nobody stopped the farmers. It's only when they started, a section of the farmers started instigating violence in the heart of Delhi and taking down the flag and, doing all those stunts with their tractors in the
When was that? And was that recently? Because I just don't remember that at all.
middle of Delhi. Then, of course, the Delhi police took notice and action was taken. But otherwise, the farmers, there for months upon months upon months, nobody said anything to them. Nothing, absolutely. Nobody said anything at all. For almost a year, the Shaheen Bagh people had blocked that road. That is an arterial road. It connects Uttar Pradesh via Delhi to Faridabad, which is in Haryana. That road was blocked. Nobody said anything. There was no police action against them, and they were there sitting blocking the road, which was wrong, illegal. But we didn't say anything. But it's very easy to sit in the United States of America and point fingers, because you feel that you're a first world country, you feel that you're white, and you feel that you can point fingers at other countries whom you think don't have this kind of money or diplomatic reach or a military or are not white enough. You think you can finger point and say that, hey, we are superior, we will tell you. Now, what you're facing in so many universities in America, especially the University of Columbia, which is an elite university, you are unable to understand it.
I just don't understand why the U.S. has to get involved and has to have an opinion over everything, especially when it doesn't concern them.
Unable to come to terms with it. Today, the USA is doing pretty much what it accused India of doing. India may not have done it. There was no police brutality at this scale, what we are seeing on social media, right? But hundreds of students have been arrested. And
So here's a minor correction on what he just said. I'm filming this on May 3rd, and as of yesterday, there were about 2,000 arrests since all these protests started. And of those 2,000, across all the universities, about 20 to 30% of those arrested were not even students or affiliated with the universities.
Thousands are impacted because classes are shut and there is a standoff, and you clearly have radical Islamists. And I want to tell the Americans, and I hope the NRIs will explain to the Americans what they are faced with. Americans don't seem to understand because, honestly, I think many of you are idiots.
Did he just say, many of you idiots? Wait, what did he say? I have to rewind that.
And I want to tell the Americans, and I hope the NRIs will explain to the Americans what they are faced with. Americans don't seem to understand because, honestly, I think many of you are idiots. You play baseball amongst yourselves and you call it the World Series for some reason. I think you're very inward looking, most of the Americans. They don't understand. See, what happens is that today, when students are protesting in American campuses, when students have stalled education or higher education in America, suddenly America is waking up, and the first reaction is to send in the cops. And the first reaction is police brutality, arrest students, put them in jail. American police is highly militarized. Everybody carries an automatic weapon or arms. In India, so many cops are there without weapons. You don't see cops with weapons and all. You see them standing all over. Maybe somebody will have a pistol.
He's half right. So it depends on the police department, and it also depends if it's a sheriff's office or the highway patrol. But essentially, most police just carry a sidearm, such as a 9mm, for example, and then they might have a high-powered rifle or a shotgun in the back of their car, and they do have other units or squads, such as a SWAT team, that will actually have high-powered rifles, such as an M4, for example.
But Americans are armed almost like is the US Marines. You have the same kind of small arms. You have automatic weapons, and you have all these weapons, in America.
Most Americans who do have firearms actually own pistols, shotguns, and hunting rifles. There's a small percentage that actually own weapons such as AKs and M4s, and even a smaller percentage that actually own weapons such as 50 cals.
So today, there is confusion in America. What has happened to your campuses? There is confusion because students are refusing to budge and you don't know how to deal with it. Because when a policeman says, "Sir, please step out of your car," you bloody well step out of your car. Put your hands against the hood of the car. You put your hands against the hood of the car. You're searched. Kneel on the ground. You kneel on the ground. You say, "Lie down on the ground with hands behind your back." You lie down on the ground, with your hands behind your back, and then the cop handcuffs you. If you don't do it, he will shoot you. And there are hundreds of cases. I'm not talking about one or two isolated cases. There are hundreds of cases. You don't follow instructions of the police, somebody will shoot you. The cop will shoot you. And the police union will protect you. So there's a police union in the US. Every police department has a union in the
Yes, they can shoot you, and there's hundreds of cases of that happening. Absolutely correct. But typically, if you won't comply, that's when they start using their non-lethal arsenal, such as stun guns and pepper spray.
the US, mostly. Now, when the students and the teachers are not listening to you, you do not know how to handle it. I want to tell the Americans what is at stake here. And I want you to have a better understanding of what you're faced with. And I'll keep on repeating this every day till my message gets across. What you're faced with is, and what you're seeing in your campuses, whether it's Columbia University or any other university in the US, where these pro-Palestinian protests are happening, what you're faced with is called the Watermelon Coalition. A watermelon has two colors, green and red. Here, green stands for radical Islamists. Right? The radical Islamists, they're the color green, and the red are communists. So what you're seeing is a very toxic mixture of radical Islamists and the American left. They have joined hands. This is a marriage of convenience. And what they want to do, let me tell you what they want to do. You have to understand. It is not about Palestine. It is not about the fact that Israel is bombing Gaza. Right? It's not about that. Their aim is to spread anarchy. That is the aim of the left. Right? The aim of the Islamists is not to spread anarchy. The aim is to punish America. The aim is to punish America for various perceived and real wrongs. Also to gain a foothold. So, like this guy, the Sami al-arian, he was teaching. So, you can come to the United States of America, you live your life here, you partake of everything nice that America has to offer, a first world country, great salaries, a roof above your head, food on the table, absolute freedom of expression and speech. You can do whatever you like. You are in what some people call the freest country on earth. That is what the Americans like to call themselves. And yet, after taking advantage of the American way of life in every way, you actively work against the enemies of the state, against the United States of America.
So to piggyback to what he just said, I had a friend at Syracuse University, which is in upstate New York, during 9/11, and she told me how during the attack in her dormitory, she could hear some Islamic students celebrating. They were clapping, applauding, laughing. They were so happy that 9/11 happened. So if they hated the United States so much, why were they there in the first place?
This is what these people are doing. And America does not seem to understand. You will keep on screaming Constitution of the United States of America. You will keep on screaming about freedom of speech. You will keep on speaking about rights. Do you think the left believes in rights? Do you think the Islamists believe in rights? No. They're there, they're agents of chaos. They're there to cause anarchy in your universities. They're there to absolutely vitiate the atmosphere and spoil the next generation. That is what these people are actively doing, and you're unable to stop it. It happens in Indian universities too. It happens. And this is when you have people say random things, and suddenly you have an actress like Deepika Padukone, who's a very big star in India, coming with a candle and saying that, she stands in solidarity. It happens in India also. Tomorrow you're going to have Hollywood film stars, you're going to have rock stars, or people who are left-leaning, so to say, go to campuses in the US and say that we stand with the students. Tomorrow, if you have any one of these huge superstars of Hollywood standing there with the students, what are you going to do? Today, America has got an absolutely bad name across the world because of the way you've handled the situation. You've let it go out of control. And I keep on seeing videos of daily life on American campuses, college campuses, and let me tell you, your future generation has been poisoned. These are not the people who will pick up a weapon and go to war for America, if God forbid America is ever attacked. You cannot depend on your next generation.
This generation that he was talking about, some of these students or protesters that were breaking in and vandalizing these buildings and then having a sit-in these buildings were actually demanding that they get humanitarian supplies delivered to them, saying, we want food, we want water, but the food you give us, it cannot come from any place that even supports Israel. That's just an example of the stupidity of some of these protesters. If everyone from this generation thinks like that, then I think we're doomed. However, I know not everyone does fall into that category.
What you have spawned, dear America, is a bunch of losers. That is what you have done. Now, coming back to India, we have similar problems in India also, but we know how to handle these problems. Next time, I would imagine that next time when you see, just like 9/11, when Indians said that while we are heartbroken, we are devastated with what we see on our television screens, we just hope that one day America will realize what the others go through and not take a blinkered view of the entire situation like the Indians thought during 9/11. Today, Indians are thinking that, what is happening in America is exactly what happens in India. But you don't see this kind of police brutality, what you have seen in the United States of America. You don't see the police doing this. Yes, the police will enter and there might be a scuffle, etc. But it's not like this, that teachers are being thrown to the ground and, the cops are tackling teachers to the ground and handcuffing teachers and handcuffing students and filling them like this. During protests, this could be during elections where there is violence among two groups of students. That's a separate thing. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about, let's say, violence. Police will come. There will be police action in India, but not at the scale in which it has happened in the United States of America. And I just hope that America will come to its senses. You are in your college campuses breeding the watermelon coalition. And this will kill you from within. Please understand, this will finish America from within. Because what is America? It's not just a piece of land, it's the people. And if your next generation is so morally defunct and corrupt, what do you think they will defend and protect? Nothing. They live in this dream space, imagining a utopia where, most of them are confused about genders. I was shocked. I don't know where this conversation came up from. There's one guy who's sitting with a mic, I don't know his name, and he asked a girl, he addressed her as a girl, that I would like to talk to the lady. He says, why did you call me a lady? And I identify as a non-binary. Some nonsense here. Some nonsense. I mean, this is what is happening, and this is all because of the left. And this marriage of the left and radical Islamists, it's a temporary measure. Because once they have created enough chaos, and once the Islamists take over, the first people they get rid of are the leftists. That's what I'm telling you. The first people that they eliminate are the leftists. The first people who get it from the radical Islamists are the leftists. Anyway, I just thought I'll have some sort of a conversation with our American friends, and I hope the NRIs who are watching would be kind enough to communicate to the Americans, their friends born and raised in America who are American by birth, and would tell them what kind of dangers that they're facing in their campuses. We have certain liberal art colleges and we have certain universities and colleges where these things happen. But these things don't happen in our elite colleges, like the IITs and the IIMs. It's not sad for me. I'm an Indian. I'm enjoying this. Enjoying what I'll tell you. Not what is happening in America, but what I'm about to say. You've given up manufacturing to the Chinese. Now there is hardly any manufacturing taking place in the United States. And you're handing over corporate leadership to India. Our students are very aggressive. Our students are fighting a life and death battle. They're supported by their families. Their attitude towards education is do or die. And here, you have people in US campuses who are saying that I identify as something or the other in some nonsense. And nobody has a clue about Palestine. There is some nonsense that they've picked up from some radical Islamist on the campus and they're repeating that.
So there was a video circulating around. It might have been on TikTok or the news or something. I'm not sure. But it showed a guy who was actually interviewing some of these protesters at one of these universities. And half the people he talked to had no idea what they were actually protesting. If I find the video, I will go ahead and link that down below, though.
This is your future generation, America. I think you should be very worried. Because I think that the next century clearly belongs to India and China. America is out of the picture because if your next generation is not strong, this is not the generation in America I see, and I've seen veterans, in American armed forces veterans, and I may have seen hundreds of interviews of veterans, and I can tell you, and I can tell this to the Americans, and this I address to not to the NRIs but other Americans, This current generation of Americans who's in school and college, they're not made of the same fiber of Americans that fought in the Second World War or fought in the Vietnam War. You're not made of that metal. You don't have that fiber. You don't have that DNA. Today, it's really sad that you see modern Americans, youngsters in America, and you don't see strength, you see weakness. Anyway, I hope Americans come to their senses.
So yesterday on the news, they showed this historic old hall that I think was at Columbia University, and it was pretty much destroyed and covered in graffiti. And one of the professors they interviewed said this: well, come to any university. They're 18 years old and they're just learning how to express themselves. What kind of bullshit attitude is that? You pretty much just gave them a nod of approval of defacing school property and acting like fools. Like, what the hell? I can understand why some of these students act this way, because they're raised by parents who are validating them, saying they're always right. Then they get to the universities and colleges, and these professors pretty much enable them in their behavior.
Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, for watching this video. And if you like this video, press the like button. Subscribe to our channel. Don't forget to press the bell icon. Jai Hind, Vande Mataram, Bharat Mata Ki Jai.
So before I give you my opinion, and before you click out of this video, I'm going to direct you to another major Arya video right here that you might want to watch. So I support free speech and the right to assemble, which is what the Constitution guarantees. What I don't support is hate speech, vandalism, violence, or threats. And I don't support it when these protesters block pathways of university students who are trying to get to classes. Have the police gone too far? Do all these protesters deserve to be violently thrown to the ground and handcuffed or zip-tied? Probably not. But if you look at the videos, most of these protesters are preparing for war. They have umbrellas, weapons, and gas masks, which means that they're taking steps to counteract the police's non-lethal response, which is CS gas and pepper spray. And I have one more thing to add, and I know it's kind of insignificant in the grand scheme of things, but because of these protests, some of these universities have had to cancel classes and graduation ceremonies, which means that these students who missed their high school graduation because of COVID are now going to miss their college graduation because of these protests. Anyway, that's just my 2 cents. I would love to hear what you guys think in the comments. Thanks for watching.